In the California funeral industry, nobody actually dies. A corpse is politely referred to as a loved one, and the box they are buried in is never a coffin, it is a moisture-proof casket. The language is meticulously designed to scrub away the messy, uncomfortable reality of human mortality. But in the late 1940s, this highly sanitized, aggressively cheerful industry met its match in Evelyn Waugh. Waugh was a brilliant British author and a notorious cynic who took one look at this artificial world and ruthlessly tore it to pieces. He was a man who fiercely resisted the 20th century. He refused to learn how to drive a car or even fly in an airplane. Instead of using a telephone, he preferred to communicate through letters, strictly utilizing an old-fashioned metal nib pen and a bottle of ink. He was also unapologetically selfish. When a rare shipment of bananas arrived in post-war England, his wife managed to secure 3 pieces of the rationed fruit for their children. Waugh promptly peeled all 3, doused them in Riemann sugar, and ate them himself while his family watched. This cranky, uncompromising European realist was a poor match for mid-century Los Angeles. When he finally arrived on the West Coast, the resulting culture clash was inevitable. In 1947, Waugh traveled to Los Angeles. He was there to negotiate a lucrative film adaptation of his epic novel, Brideshead Revisited. The negotiation quickly stalled. Waugh had written a complex saga interwoven with heavy Catholic themes about class and family. The Hollywood executives sitting across the table wanted to strip all of that away and film a simple, happy love story. Bemused, Waugh decided to sink his own deal. He drafted a highly condescending letter to the studio, effectively guaranteeing that the project would fall apart. That act of self-sabotage left him with no movie deal and plenty of free time, stranded in a city built entirely on artificial facades. His total rejection of movie magic primed him for an entirely different discovery. Down the street, an even more grotesque illusion was operating in broad daylight. He found Forest Lawn Memorial Park in nearby Glendale. In his writing, he would parody this sprawling mega-cemetery as whispering glades, presenting it as the exact opposite of a traditional, somber graveyard. The park's founder, Hubert Eaton, operated by a strict builder's creed. He mandated that his cemetery would banish all symbols of grief and divine judgment, opting instead for a landscape of mandatory sunshine. Waugh saw the cemetery and the movie studio as parallel industries. Both were businesses built on the professional application of cosmetic illusions. Down the street, movie studios were taking unknown actors and rebranding them into glamorous starlets. Here, mortuaries were using heavy makeup and elaborate embalming to paint corpses, hiding the reality of decay. To Waugh, these twin institutions were glaring symptoms of a culture trapped in an endless infancy. Los Angeles was a society entirely incapable of facing the real world. Breaking through this protective shell of artificiality requires gallows humor. This specific brand of dark comedy functions as a pressure valve, allowing us to process the most morbid realities by laughing at the very things that threaten us. In his resulting 1948 novel, The Loved One, Waugh used this perspective to shatter Hollywood's sanitized illusions. He focused on a protagonist who works in a pet cemetery to expose the absurdity of the local death industry. The book is packed with dark parodies. Waugh deliberately juxtaposes the revered high-art poets' corner of the human cemetery with the industrial incinerators of the happier hunting ground pet mortuary. The grim irony peaks with the character Amy Thanagenius, a name that translates to beloved bringer of death. When she commits suicide, she injects herself with embalming fluid to ensure her corpse matches the flawless aesthetic of her workplace. Waugh's publishers worried the obvious parody of Forest Lawn would trigger a defamation lawsuit. To protect himself, Waugh had his aristocratic friend, Lord Stanley, add a codicil to his will demanding to be buried at Forest Lawn, specifically because it resembled the beautiful place described in the novel. The endorsement worked, and no lawsuit materialized. By utilizing grotesque, undeniable morbidity, Waugh forcefully injected reality back into a society obsessed with denying it. In 1965, Hollywood attempted to adapt The Loved One into a film, ironically trying to spin the narrative into an anti-establishment counterculture comedy. As a staunch traditionalist, Waugh predictably despised this modern cinematic interpretation of his work. Waugh's perspective resurfaced in director Billy Wilder's Sunset Boulevard. After failing to secure the rights to adapt The Loved One, Wilder integrated its themes of decay into his own portrait of a faded star. The book remains a subject of intense academic study. This 1996 journal abstract examines contemporary criticism of the novel, noting its particular applicability in a modern age. Waugh set out to escape the artificiality of the West Coast, yet his grim worldview ended up providing the narrative DNA for some of Hollywood's most biting self-critiques. His masterpiece endures because it forces an uncomfortable admission. No amount of euphemisms or commercialization can conquer mortality. Trying to mask death with a happy ending only breeds spiritual emptiness.